Wilder and Kubrat Pulev refused to step aside as Fury and Joshua talks begin. So apparently, Anthony Joshua and Fury, obviously Fury's team and Eddie Hearn have been talking about setting up a undisputed fight, and it looks like it's not going to happen because if Wilder and Pulev don't step aside, it's what Deontay's team or Deontay himself and Kubrat Pulev's side has been saying. Deontay Wilder's team says, as far as we're concerned, the next fight for Deontay Wilder is the third fight of Tyson Fury. This was a Shelley Finkel. Also says, unless we are told different, those are the only plans we have for Deontay's next fight. Kubrat Pulev's team, it says that clause was covered well. That Pulev's co-promoter, along with Top Rank, confirmed to boxing scene, there's no way out, even though Joshua keeps looking for new ways to avoid us. We've exercised our right for the title, and we're waiting for years. And in terms of Kubrat Pulev waiting for years, I remember he was actually meant to take on AJ, but then because of injury or something like an injury, he had to pull out. That's how AJ ended up fighting Carlos Takam. Now, with all of them shenanigans, not been able to fight AJ that time, being replaced by Takam, do you think Kubrat Pulev at his age, pushing 40 now, is going to be, taking step aside money? Because if he goes there and knocks AJ's bark out, then he can just, I think, and as a mandatory shot, I know it's in the contract if they're really going to have to fight a second fight if Kubrat Pulev was to actually win. So Kubrat Pulev, for me, I think he's gonna go straight into it. If he wins, then he's gonna become unified heavyweight champion, and he's gonna make a lot of money, especially in Bulgaria. All them Balkan countries. He's gonna make a lot of money. Turkey, Bulgaria, that side. He knows he's gonna make a lot of money if he beats Anthony Joshua. So he's been waiting his whole life to get title shot like this again. After losing to Klitschko back in the day, he's come back. He's here to potentially take on AJ and beat him. Mandatory shot. And mandatory shots don't tend to have rematch clauses as well. So he probably can ride off into the sunset, do what the hell he wants to do. He doesn't have to come back and fight AJ in a rematch like Andy Ruiz did, as his was a voluntary shot. Go in there, beat AJ, and become a unified heavyweight champion, and potentially unify with Tyson Fury if Tyson Fury was to beat Wilder, which could be easy because Fury and Pulev are both working with Top Rank, so that will probably happen immediately. But in terms of in terms of Pulev is definitely not stepping aside. In terms of Deontay Wilder, I haven't seen anything from Wilder to suggest that money is gonna motivate him to step aside. This guy, Deontay, I think they offered him $120 million, to fight Dominic Brazil, and Anthony Joshua twice on the zone, turned it down. And obviously Deontay Wilder's recent statements talking about Fury's not the real champion, how he was a zombie in the fight, he wasn't really himself, and he didn't really look himself. He says his legs were gone and all this kind of stuff that he's been saying. He sounds like someone who wants to right the wrongs. He's been talking about bringing George Foreman into his camp, potentially another trainer as well into his camp, making some adjustments. He's been talking about removing some guys from his team as well. He's been alluding to, he's been done some such looks into his team, making some adjustments here and there. Apparently though, Wilder's been talking about his bicep. Is that going to be a hindrance to him fighting Tyson Fury in the trilogy? Who knows? But the trilogy, with all these things going on right now, the fight was apparently meant to take place in July. So the trilogy actually being pushed back has actually given Deontay Wilder time to recover in terms of his bicep surgery or bicep injury or whatever he may have had. So that might actually be a blessing in disguise for Deontay Wilder in terms of the fact he's able to recover. He's got more time to recover and beat at his 100% best than rushing into a trilogy and then end up getting beat and then blaming it on an injury or an unrecovered injury. But I just don't see Deontay Wilder as someone who will, quit. I don't see Deontay Wilder as someone who would, not quit, who wouldn't take the trilogy or step aside, because he's looking at it like, I want to be involved in that mega fight. Al Heyman and all the PBC side, they want their man, an American fighter, to be in the undisputed fight. They're not going to step aside for two Brits to fight. I think even the Kubrat Pulev's one of his trainers or something that I was alluding to, he was basically ridiculing the fact that he did asking his fighter to allow Joshua and Tyson Fury to fight. I can't remember who said it from Pulev's team though. But for me, I just don't see anything from the track record of Deontay Wilder to suggest that he's taking any step aside money. I think he's going to jump straight back into the trilogy, whenever that is. And same with Kubrat Pulev. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Wilder and Pulev refusing Fury Joshua undisputed fight? And in terms of also talking about Deontay Wilder as well, if Deontay Wilder was to actually beat Tyson Fury in the trilogy, would you actually prefer to see AJ Wilder or would you prefer to see AJ Fury? Because in terms of, you know, that, because for me, the AJ Wilder fight has been brewed so long that I really want to see AJ versus Deontay Wilder. It's been talked about so long, so many things going back and forth, and for that fight just to not happen, that would be very, for me, I would hate for that to happen. Because for me, if Wilder was to lose the trilogy, I feel like Josh was more unlikely to take on Deontay Wilder. But if Wilder was to beat Tyson Fury, then I feel like obviously Deontay Joshua would have to unify with Deontay Wilder. But if Fury was to lose to Deontay Wilder and Deontay Wilder was to pick up the WBC Ring magazine, I still feel like Joshua would still fight Tyson Fury anyway as a mega British clash. So I think Wilder winning would result in AJ fighting both fighters. But I feel like if Fury was to beat Deontay again in the trilogy, I think it makes it much more unlikely for AJ and his handlers to want to fight Deontay Wilder, because they will say they want to fight, but I don't think they would if Wilder ain't got no belt. And they're the ones always talking about Wilder can't sell tickets, and Eddie Hearn talking about the numbers and all that. So I don't think they'll want to fight Deontay if he lost the trilogy to Tyson Fury. So Wilder winning the trilogy, I think it sets up more likely that AJ is going to fight Wilder and Fury than if Wilder was to lose the trilogy to Tyson Fury. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about what I've said? And what do you think about Wilder and Pulev refusing to step aside for the Fury Joshua undisputed fight? Drop your comments again. Cool.